On this week's show, we're discussing multiple cancelled projects at Xbox amongst some layoffs. Helldivers is coming to hopefully save the day on Xbox though, and EA expecting Battlefield to surpass 100 million players. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly gaming podcast, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together to round up all of the weekly video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV.
Yes, that's correct.
And available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Your players for the week are myself at Arcane Rogue Chris and my man of many pixels, Mr. Richie. Welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, indeed. I don't know why I slowed down at that part. I think I went to say Gamer Guild, and then my brain was like, do you say podcast or TV? And I was like, I almost forgot the name of the channel. We're almost at 100 episodes, folks. Don't worry. We've not locked it in just quite yet. But we do have a great show lined up for you all. The rain is here. The weather is here. We're trying out some drinks. Well, you're not. You're trying out a drink that you know. Thatcher's Blood Orange. It's Friday. We're having a little party tomorrow, a little soiree. Casa de Richie.
Delicious.
I'm trying Taurus Blood Orange, which is a little special. I've never had it before, but I'm a big fan of Thatcher's Blood Orange.
So Thatcher's Blood Orange is made by taking oranges and a Thatcher, a guy fixes roofs, mixing the blood of that guy in with the orange, and that's made from cow blood instead, because cow blood's cheaper than human blood.
Taurus. What was is the Pokemon called Taurus?
Yeah.
With the weird tailing, Blood Orange. Not as good.
Not
okay.
As good.
But,
is it worth the price difference? Because
tell me when I've finished all 4 cans and I'll I'll give you a verdict. I'm not sure about the percentage, but it's summer, Richie. We're here. We're talking about games. Some good news, some bad news this week, but we do have a great show lined up for our viewers and listeners out there. But of course, before we get into all that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, ring a ding ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here. Like this very show, like our weekly live streams with you, the amazing community out there, and all the other stuff in between, like retro looks back, Last of Us, Clicker Cast reviews, and everything in between. Follow us on social media at GamerGuildTV. We do have a merchandise store with a couple of things. I think I mentioned it last week's show, but Spreadshirt, who supply all of the stuff, they are looking at stripping back on content, materials and stuff that has been popular. So if there is something bespoke that you're looking for, head over now, buy it, links in the description. And of course, we'll be back this week with a weekly live stream. Pokemon went up this week in light of rematch, stuff behind the scenes, scheduling, whatnot, but we'll get to it. Thank you very much to all of our members, of course, the Guild Heroes. You support the channel. And but we like to begin every single show, Richie. Episode 99, as I said, so we've got a bit of a milestone next week. Episode 100, we'll figure something out for that as well. We were going to do something live during the day, but it clashes with my wife's birthday. We're going out for the day, and ultimately, friends come before podcast. So apologies, because we did say we were going to do. We did actually have something lined up for a full day stream, and then stuff got cancelled behind the scenes and we ended up having to rearrange.
We were working on it, but then plans got moved around. Unfortunately, we weren't going to hit the date. So.
Yeah, but you're still going to get episode 100, which means we are 61 away from catching up with the Sounds of Stadia podcast. So still a year and a bit to go, but I'm sure we'll get there with your fantastic support. Richie, we like to begin every show with talking about what we've been playing recently. So what have the past 7 days had in store for you?
It is just been more Expedition 33. Never. I'm getting close to the end. I've got to the monolith.
Hey, you're getting there.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much, I think, right at the end of Act 2. Because you have, when you first get the monolith, you have the boss fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get freedom to explore the inside of the monolith, don't you?
You certainly do.
That's where I'm at. That's where I've left off.
Right. I have a...
That's more notes for you, really, so you've done...
Yeah, I get it. I finished it, so this week I went... I got to, what I would call the end game, but I didn't know if I could push on towards, the final scenes, or there was, a point of no return. So thankfully our wonderful members of the Discord server said to me, no, you can complete the actual full campaign story, and it kind of resets you back to just before the final fight to go and explore, which was good because it meant I could kind of see through. I felt like I had like my foot on the pedal, but reluctant to go ahead because, you know, and especially if you're trophy hunting, you don't want to kind of miss that point of no return and realise that you have to play through another 40 hours to catch up, and this game is quite linear in that way. But yeah, having an absolute great time with it. And I think as I'm finished the story now, thoroughly enjoyed it. It cemented its status as my game of the year, and now I need to just get to the clean up, the mop up, the grind, and level up. I think I'm about level 66 across the board now, 66, and I've still got a long way to go to get to 99. I think is the final level up trophy. So bit of graft, bit of grinding. The game has gotten a little bit like repetitive now. I'm in that grind phase.
I was looking at some guides and stuff because I saw you talking in Discord, and there's different areas have different like people have put together guides for different like level recommendations for different areas.
Yeah.
So if you just look, it might just be a case of if you just progress through the additional areas, you'll probably be okay. Yeah,
well, I did message Tom about it because obviously Tom has the Platinum Trophy in this game. It's also his game of the year up there with Altered and a couple of other things, Blueprints. So he's been, again, since he got his PlayStation Portal, that lad just games non-stop now. But yeah, in terms of Expedition 33, I do want to ask you a question regarding it. Pictos.
Yes.
Do you use them?
Yeah.
Right. So this is where I think I have ultimately screwed myself. So
wait, you're not using one of the biggest mechanics of the game.
Right. So hear me out. So you know when they introduced them right back, I don't know, like an hour into the game?
Yes.
I feel one of the reasons I've traditionally not really enjoyed classic JRPGs is because it's mechanics on top of mechanics on top of mechanics.
The complexity.
And I think in the moment when it introduced Lumina points and introduced Pictos and it introduced this and that, it's not Pictos I'm talking about, it's Lumina points, sorry. Not Pictos, Lumina points. And it introduced
kind of linked.
Yeah, and they go like, oh, here's some Lumina points, you'll get these throughout, and whatever it told you in the brief tutorial part. But then I got back in, I kind of skipped all the text dialogue on the screen because I was like, I'll figure it out. Went through it, skipped it, and only now, Act 3, having finished the whole story and getting to my grind, I was looking at something to do with someone was talking about like stacking your abilities or something, like make the perfect set list or something.
Yeah.
And again, not really in my wheelhouse. I was like, right, I'll have a look. Each of my characters, I thought you added Lumina points to them. So, you know, the menu where they have like, you just add them up on each character and you just add them to the character and it builds up. I thought adding Lumina points was making me stronger in some like different stage. I didn't know you had to go in and actually like pick the Pictos and almost like link the Pictos to the characters. So having played this game for probably 45, 50 plus hours and inevitably completed it, I've just discovered hours ago that actually you can stack these Lumina points to share basically the Picto quality amongst your whole team. So things like double turn and gain AP on hits and parries and stuff, it was literally just the individuals who had them stacked, and I had spent 0 out of a collective 600 Lumina points which I had, which means nothing to people who haven't played the game.
You've basically been playing the game on like a higher difficulty without intending it.
Seemingly, yes. So I went in and I was like, shit, like spent them all on everybody. So I'm now at this stacked point where everybody can take 2 turns back to back.
Yeah.
They get AP on every parry, they get AP, like, so basically all of a sudden my fights have become a lot easier, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah. So just for anyone who hasn't played yet, basically, Pictos are equipable items. Each character can equip 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Once you've mastered a Picto by winning, I think it's 4 battles, then you can spend your Lumina points to basically get the passive effect assigned to your character. Yeah. You don't get the stats, but you get the effect, because every Picto has some stats and an effect. So you end up getting literally hundreds of Lumina points to spend on your Pictos, and Pictos can range from 1 to like 25 Lumina points to assign.
Yeah, and I also learned apparently if you equip a Picto power, then after you've used it in 4 battles, anyone can use it, like share it using the Lumina points.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Once you've kind of mastered them, you can assign them.
So didn't know about that. So yeah, I kind of watched this tutorial video on YouTube, and he kind of broke it down. And the guy even in the tutorial video did say, as soon as games like start using terminology that's not like English, I think my brain just goes like, well, I don't know what a picto is, I don't know what a lumina is.
It makes sense.
Yeah, in amongst all the other assets, whereas like traditionally you'd call it maybe like, I don't know, boosters or add-ons or upgrades, skill tree stuff.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it's just there's a lot going on at once, and I think it became a lot of text on screen, and my brain just went, skip.
You know what I think part of the problem is? A lot of RPGs, I think, very much dumb down the mechanics nowadays to very, very basic. Even things like Final Fantasy like 15 and 16, their mechanics were relatively basic. So JRPGs do traditionally have that kind of steep learning curve to understand the mechanics. But once you understand them and master them, like, you can see how all the different synergies between like all the different pictos can.
Yeah, again, in hindsight,
really useful.
Completely. Like, but then I think at the time we introduced them, you're also being told about like gradient attacks and then status effects, and I'm doing battles where there's like all of a sudden I'm healing my character and they're dying instantly, and I'm like, okay, something's clearly going on here, and then you get curse power, and then there's just so many like elemental things, and everything's like numbers and statistics, and I think it's like a bit of an overload for my simple brain. And it was only like many hours after I thought I'll go back to it and just have a look at what these picto things are, because even when you look at the menu, it default selects 3 of them for you. So I think I must have just glanced at the menu and went, I've got some equipped, and I guess I'm doing okay in the fight, so I won't look too much into it. And then in hindsight, I'm like, I'm missing out on like double stack for burn, double stack on health, like all this stuff that's made. Well, let's face it, it's going to make my cleanup a lot easier, because I've essentially just leveled up insanely well for the fights now. So, like
with my L, I've had like being able to set, like do burn damage on using a gun, which then helped me turn into virtuos stance much quicker.
Yeah,
without having to like
things like that,
with quicker setup. Yeah, so, it's things like that, and just...
Yeah, so lessons learned if you are currently playing Expedition 33. Maybe look at your Lumina points and your pictos, because it might help you out, funnily enough. It might help you out.
I do have a criticism of them, though. There's way too many.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, because you have to... Because I've been trying to make sure I master every single one of them. I feel like I'm constantly making slight tweaks to my build, and then occasionally when I get back to camp, I'm just delete and just going to unequip everything and spend 10-15 minutes just resetting everything back up, because there's just so many of them.
Yeah, I've read in my adventures, I've read stuff about like the perfect build that essentially means you can like almost like one-shot enemies or kill them before they even get a turn, like by stacking things. So you take the first turn, and then you also take 2 turns back to back, and you block them from their first attack. Like loads of stuff where it's like, it's so granular. I don't think I have the mental capacity for like even looking into that kind of stuff. I just want to enjoy the game and have fun.
I fully confess, I'm not, as much as why I don't mind the complicated mechanics and stuff and the synergies, I don't like having to min-max my build to be perfect. I like to have that, figure out how I want to use the character and it work. I've never been fond of games where it feels like, your build is not, suddenly you get to a new level and your build's no longer viable.
Yeah.
I actually think that's bad. I've had it before in games where I went, you know what, that's me done with this game. Because I just think it's bad game design.
Takes the fun out of it a little bit. But
yeah, it does. Who wants to play a spreadsheet? You want to play the game, not a spreadsheet.
Exactly, absolutely. But either way, it hasn't detracted from my fun of the game. I'm on that straight shot for the platinum now, and I'm clear. It's like little things as well. I know, like, sorry folks who've not played Expedition, you're a bit bored of this chatter, but at least it's not football talk, right? Yeah, well, I hadn't even really used Minoko that much, because similar to when I play Pokemon, I kind of get my main lot, and I'm just content with them. So I wasn't playing with Minoko, I wasn't playing with Mael, I think, because I'd settled on the main 3. And then in hindsight,
I've been rotating them to try and keep them all the same level.
Yeah, and then in hindsight, it was a case of, there's a trophy where you need to unlock all of Minoko's skills, and he gets the skills by gathering feet from the dead enemies. And at the time, I just thought it was like a funny side thing, like, he likes feet. And then in hindsight, it was like, every enemy type I've been killing, he would have benefited from said foot.
It is a funny side thing, but until you all go, oh, actually, I want the trophies. Like, oh, now I need to go kill every single enemy type in the game, basically.
Yeah, but to be fair, for my final grind, it's given me some direction because I'm following a guide of like where I need to go on the map. So I'm doing a bit of traversal. I'm finding all where these feet are. I've got quite a few already, to be fair, just in like general play. But yeah, just another string to the bow. So yes, Expedition 33. Hopefully have the platinum soon because I am ready to move on to something new now. We've got Donkey Kong Bananza coming out, and I just want to get into something new. I feel like I've sunk a lot of time into this one now, so as fun as it has been. Do let us know in the comments below what you've been playing. We do like to hear from our audience. I think sometimes we don't have that chance to hear from you as much. So yes, if you're watching along on YouTube, drop a comment. Let us know what you're playing, aside from Expedition 33, because we know a lot of you out there are playing it. What's next on the dock? But yeah, Richie, we of course can't get into the news without you introducing us to the
graciously covered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And as always,
I have no idea where I was going with that.
Hopefully to the news. The news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members who support the channel an extra little bit further, just like you can from as little as 99 pence. The link is in the description on YouTube. You get early access to content here on the channel, stickers, badges next to your name, in our live chat, and much, much more. Unlike the dirty freeloaders who still listen along on podcast feeds. I know you're out there. Over 100 of you listen every week for free. Why not head over and become a member, even just for 1 month? Give it a try. You might just like it. Sad news week, Richie, on many fronts. Big things happening though over on Xbox. We should say, I guess, Microsoft. Our big story this week covers all sorts of goings on over at Microsoft. Kicking things off, I guess, Microsoft have made over 9,000 redundancies as their whole WAD division, which of course then has a trickle-down effect to Xbox themselves, which has caused a knock-on effect of multiple things, both games and studios and staff and leadership all heading for the exit. So I guess the big story is, yes, 9,000 people unfortunately lost their jobs, so hopefully they'll find their feet and get a new job and such soon, and what works out best for them. But I think from a gaming standpoint, we've learned of Perfect Dark, the quadruple A reboot over at the Initiative studio has been cancelled. That has then also led to the studio itself, the Initiative, being shut down. We also learned that Rare's Everwild project, which has been developed for quite some time, I think 2019 it was revealed, has also been cancelled. Rare have had 10% about layoffs, but they're not. The studio's still going, because of course Sea of Thieves is huge. ZeniMax, part of the ZeniMax Bethesda team, they've had a brand new IP of an MMORPG cancelled too. And then various leaders across all teams and divisions. It's kind of like an ongoing story that we're finding out after the fact, like people have also decided to step down or leave and other things in amongst it all. But I guess I want to start with Xbox's Xbox Game Studios chief, Matt Booty. He issued an internal statement to his employees early on this week when it all kicked off. And I'll read the quote directly. We've made the decision to stop development of Perfect Dark and Everwild, as well as wind down several unannounced projects across our portfolio. As part of this, we are closing one of our studios, The Initiative. These decisions, along with others, will change across our teams, reflect a broader effort to adjust priorities and focus resources to set up our teams for greater success within a changing industry landscape. We did not make these choices lightly, as each project and team represents years of effort, imagination, and commitment. Our overall portfolio strategy is unchanged: build games that excite our players, continue to grow our biggest franchises, and create new stories, worlds, and characters. We have more than 40 projects in active development, continued momentum on titles shipping this fall, and a strong slate heading into 2026. For those directly affected, we are working closely with HR and studio leadership to provide support, including severance, career transition assistance, and where possible, opportunities to explore roles on other teams. To everyone across our studios, thank you. Your creativity and resilience continue to define who we are. I believe in the strength of our teams and the direction we're taking on the path ahead. There's also another message from Phil Spencer, but I'll let that sink in before we get to that one. Richie, the industry continues to shrink. And much like all tech industries, layoffs, redundancies hit big. But I guess the big difference in the games industry is there's usually years and years of creativity and passion and stuff we've seen that just gets canned. It goes in the bin. And I guess you want to start with Perfect Dark. Seems to be the biggest one, the biggest loss from all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what state Perfect Dark was in. I think it was around about 2021. The initiative kind of was founded to work on it alongside, like, it's had a bit of a rocky development because it was with Crystal at one point, and then
Crystal were brought in
bought Square,
support.
and yeah. But it's, I don't know, I just feel sorry for like 9,000. Imagine having to be the guy. Imagine being the guy to fire 9,000 people.
Yeah, it's a football stadium's worth of people.
Yeah,
like an actual full like League 2, League 1 football stadium's worth of people just gone. I know it does say like restructuring and we'll find, and I know sometimes these companies like part of the law. I think especially in the UK, I'm not so much about the US, but yeah, if there's job opportunities available, those people who are at risk of redundancy take priority in open vacancies in terms of like getting them an interview and stuff like that. But your talents might not necessarily line up with those vacancies. So great if you're a designer, applying for a job in like a different department doesn't really mean much.
It's a creative industry. So you talk about people who might have put like 5-10 years into a project for it to be pulled overnight, seemingly without notice, and they go, "Oh, we'll help you find another job within the company." You just might not want to even stay at a company that treats you like that. And
you might not.
I don't know. I don't see a positive lining for how the management have handled this at all. To be honest, I think it's cutthroat. I think it's bad management. If you have to do this, then you haven't been managing your company properly.
Yeah.
You'll not convince me otherwise on that. Like, unless a massive catastrophe happens, all of a sudden that you could wouldn't be reasonable for you to predict. I do think this is bad management, and this comes down to the leadership at Microsoft.
Yeah, it goes back
not just
to
at Xbox, at Microsoft.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's the creative people working on the games, making stuff that we love. They're the ones who are suffering from this.
Yeah, it's annoying on multiple fronts because, of course, Microsoft, I think, just had like record shares as well. So it's like a company that literally rakes in billions.
Where this is very much a PR speak. It's full of just nothing.
Yeah. Really. And it kind of double hits when you see like members of the chair board and such take bonuses home in the millions. It's like, well, just a percentage of their bonus could have kept all these people in jobs for years to come.
Not a single person in the Microsoft leadership team associated with Xbox, associated with this decision, should take a single penny in a bonus until every single one of them 9,000 people find it suitable re-employment. Because this is people's lives, ultimately. Forget about the games. This is people's lives you're messing with. And
families. And like it's not just those individuals. It's like it's their children. It's like their mortgages, their homes, their everything. And it's like I know there's sometimes restructuring because like projects and roles literally become redundant because of like the natural evolution. Like you don't need a script writer in the last half of the game because the script's done. They wrote it. They can't just hang around taking a wage when it's not necessarily required. But in terms of just things like the game itself, like Perfect Dark, like we saw it at the Xbox showcase, I believe, and it looked good. Like, as someone who hasn't played the original Perfect Dark, I'm aware of it. But then for it to be kind of re-showed and them talk about the initiative being a quadruple A studio, and then they brought in support from Square. It's Crystal Dynamics. It was like, okay. And then they showed off the trailer that looked really frenetic, really interesting. A bit of Splinter Cell sprinkled in there. Graphics look fantastic. Really good story. And apparently, like what we're hearing now is that just wasn't as far ahead as we might have thought in development.
But that doesn't seem to have mattered, because I'm going to bring in a quote from Brenda Romero over at Romero Games. So John Romero co-founded Doom. So that's what we're talking about. We have some difficult news to share. Last night we learned that our publisher, Microsoft in this case, has cancelled funding for our game along with several other unannounced projects at the studios. This was a strategic decision made at a high level within the publisher, well above our visibility or control. We deeply wish there had been anything we could have done to prevent this outcome. This absolutely isn't a reflection of our team's work, performance, or the quality of the project itself. We hit every milestone on time, every time, consistently received high praise, and easily passed all of our internal gates. We are incredibly proud of the work being done and the talented team behind it, the best we've worked with. Then they go on to mention evaluating the next steps. But that statement saying we hit every single milestone on time, every single time we had a milestone, we're exceeding our own internal quality checks, where they refer to as internal gates.
Yeah.
And yet they got the funding pulled.
The funding pulled.
The funding pulled. It's like, so you doing your job, exceeding expectations, and your funding's pulled. That's not a reflect, seemingly. If their statement for Romero Games is true, it's clearly not a reflection on the game and the development at that studio. It's
an interesting one, isn't it? The biggest thing for me, I guess, the initiative. It's hard to speak specifically on the studio because they've never put out a game. They were brought together in 2018 to create and produce big budget titles, and that's why we got that joke of it being quadruple A, because that's what they said. They recruited veterans of like Red Dead Redemption writers. They brought in senior producers from God of War. They picked up talent from BioWare, Naughty Dog, Respawn, Santa Monica, Blizzard, like Insomniac. So they pulled together right people. Gallagher was the head of it all. He worked on the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot. I think that's where the Crystal Dynamics kind of partnerships came from, of like getting them on board when they said they were going to partner with them, just bring in some expertise. And Microsoft, we know Phil Spencer back when they acquired all these studios and launched them, and they said about bringing back old IP, and then we've seen Perfect Dark. I know we've spoke back and forth about like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff. But we're at this point where, the studio, in a capitalist world and making cutbacks from Microsoft, if they blow the horn from high up and say, you need to trim the fat here, here, and here, you've got to imagine these other 40 projects that Matt Booty described, is this one either just wasn't as far along, or it's a bit like Warner Brothers was, can you just take a tax break and just write it all off because it's not been published?
I mean...
And then it's kind of like you've got to... Because you do wonder about studios, right? Not id, sorry. Who just put out Doom the Dark Ages? Bethesda and not Machine. Is it id, right? Yeah.
It did, yeah.
Id Software, right? So they're now done. They've done Doom the Dark Ages. They seemingly probably have another project in pre-production, but by no means along. How come they don't shut down id, but they're happy to take the initiative and go, well, you haven't actually even had a chance. Like you said, even if you've hit all your internal metrics, why is that one on the chopping block and the others aren't? Especially when Microsoft just spends so much money on acquiring Call of Duty and a bunch of studios as well. It seems counterproductive, doesn't it? They say they need more games, so they have companies working on games at studios, and then they get rid of them. It's like PlayStation. Concord shit the bed, but then they close the studio down. It's like, but you need games, so surely rather than knock everything on the head and start from scratch, it seems like such a counterproductive way of working. When are they going to be there in 5 years' time buying another studio because they need someone to make games? It's like, you had a studio and you shut it down.
I think with Concord specifically, what a lot of these big corporations do is they have a lot of smaller companies. So the studio developing Concord would have been a business in its own right. Mm-hmm. So when they completely fail to make anywhere near profit, that business can go out of business without tanking the rest of the ship.
Bankruptcy rules.
Where id, using that lens, I think the advantage it has is a long legacy in the gaming industry of being profitable. Mm-hmm. So they are that company, id Software, that is managed by Bethesda and then ZeniMax and then Microsoft, is quite lucrative for them, even when they don't have a project ongoing or to that we're aware of. Where something like the Initiative, it was probably expensive to assemble because they've been poaching people from other companies, and that doesn't always necessarily work. You could have pick out the best people, put them in the room, and they come up with crap because it just didn't work. That collection of people just didn't work together well. And then they haven't produced a game, so it's just been loss. Yeah. So on their books, shutting that down, that company goes bankrupt, protects corporate Microsoft, but they haven't had a chance to prove themselves.
Yeah. And again, I think one thing we always need to remember is that Xbox isn't the biggest element of Microsoft. It's a very small cog in the grander machine that is Microsoft. And obviously it makes them profit, but it also maybe doesn't make them Microsoft levels of profit. Yeah. And we've seen that. And again, Phil Spencer, he always gets like a good bit of praise because he's one of us, he's a gamer, but ultimately he's the leader who's in charge of this business going bad. And I've seen loads of discourse back and forward of saying like these projects are just getting way too out of scope, their budgets are insane. And at one point, are the reins pulled in and say, well, you know what? If it costs that damn much, then reduce. Like, don't push the graphical boundary as much. Cut back. Don't make it 80, 90 hours. Cut it back. And you know what I mean? It just seems like there needs to be a bigger focus on the balance, because Nintendo, praise to Nintendo, I don't think they've made anywhere, if any, layoffs, right? I don't ever recall us covering stories of saying Nintendo are closing studios, laying people off. They just get on with it. Their games are low budget because they're not graphically as intense, presumably.
I think Nintendo's individual studios aren't as publicly facing as Microsoft are, because Microsoft have had huge acquisitions and stuff. Yeah, that is very, very visible to the public eye. Nintendo, they're all kind of hidden behind that Nintendo banner. Yeah. But so if a studio produces a bit of a flop, you probably don't even know what studio it was that made it. Yeah. You tend to with Xbox. And Xbox is still kind of linked in the console wars against PlayStation. So if they drop the quality, that gets commented on. Yeah. It's that they are in an awkward position, and because they are in fair place in terms of console sales, they're trying out other avenues with things like Game Pass. And if that isn't, as you mentioned, it's a cold-hearted capitalist world. If Game Pass isn't bringing in the numbers, Microsoft are seeing this as a drain on their bank accounts in what is ultimately, from their looks to them and their investors, as nothing more than a passion project. Yeah, that's probably the unfortunate reality. All that being said, I would not have went into work. After sending these, if I was in Matt Booty's position and having to make these decisions, I think I personally would have walked.
I mean, again, at what point do you draw the line?
It is hard to know, because I don't have all the information that he does. He might have just been in a situation. This might be literally what needs to happen to save Xbox as a brand. But I don't think I could ever be the person to fire 9,000 people overnight. Yeah. I just couldn't do it. I think I would walk and go, mention leadership. It was like, sometimes I think leadership is going, no, these are my people. Yeah. If you insist on them going, I'm going as well.
Yeah, it's one of them ones.
I'm fighting your case. And what if he could have stood his ground and got fired by Microsoft?
Said, I'm not sacking these people.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
But then does someone else replace him and then just do it anyway?
Yes.
So for all we know, he's maybe... Again, we'll never truly know. But imagine if Microsoft came to him and said, you need to get rid of 15,000. And he went, no, we need keep these people in these key areas. And they've reduced it to 9,000. Yeah. We just don't know. You're right.
I don't mean to be a reflection of Matt Booty. I'm just saying, in his shoes, I couldn't make the decision. Even if Microsoft went, you need to get rid of 20,000. Yeah. And I managed to talk them down to 9. I still couldn't pull the trigger on 9.
Yeah, but that's the responsibility you shoulder, being in a leadership position. Like I've gone through this myself with the redundancy stuff, and I've had people I know very, very well have to sit there on a Teams call and tell 30, 40, 50 people that there's a risk of redundancy coming up, and you could tell, like, as a human being, they hated every minute of it in the tone of voice and the way they deliver the message. But ultimately, that's their job, is to pass that message down the ladder from whoever higher ups are, and whoever makes these decisions of all these companies that make millions and millions and millions of pounds and dollars. Somehow it's the people on the front line who bear the brunt of it. Even though they'll turn profit, they'll make revenue, they'll splash the cash on random things like marketing campaigns and bonuses and all this and that, but that's capitalism, right? To add another kind of bit to this, we might as well go through Phil Spencer's particular quote before we dig into the rest of the stories. Phil's message, this was out to employees as well, says, "Today we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organisation. To position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas, we will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specifics of today's notifications and any organisational shifts will be shared by your team leaders." My point back to it, there's always a manager who has to tell that bad news down the ladder. "I recognise that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games and gaming hours than ever before." That's the sad irony of it all. "Our platform, hardware and game roadmap have never looked stronger." The more this goes on, the more it just sounds worse.
Yeah.
The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. We must make choices now for continued success in future years, and a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritise the strongest opportunities. We will protect what is thriving and concentrate effort on areas with the greatest potential, while delivering on expectations the company has had for our business. This focus approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for players for generations to come. It's a bit long, sorry. "Prioritising our opportunities is essential, but that does not lessen the significance of this moment. Simply put, we would not be where we are today without the time, energy and creativity of those whose roles are impacted. These decisions are not a reflection of the talent, creativity and dedication of the people involved. Our momentum is not accidental. It is the result of years of dedicated effort from our teams. HR is working directly with impacted employees to provide severance, etc." He goes on to kind of wrap up the same as Matt Booty did. And he encourages them to explore positions across Microsoft Gaming where applications will be given priority review. So that goes back to my point I said earlier on.
Yeah,
it's written nicely, and he does. It's almost like, thank you for your service. Here's your gold watch, but ultimately, we have to make these cuts. Like it's not only, I guess, that it's the morale of the teams, right? Like if you work in a team that's been constantly, because I mean we've had layoffs since lockdown now. It feels like for the last 5 years of us covering the industry, it's just been layout. Like every other week, there's a story of like studio does this.
It's probably why I'm feeling so strong about this one, because it's a huge one, and it's another huge one.
Yeah, 9,000, and we'll get into like the specific details of the particular studios, but you do just wonder, like, what's causing this? Is it higher expectations? Is the bar set too high? And I mean, we're going to talk about it later on, but EA expecting like 100 million people playing Battlefield. It's never hit them numbers before in its entire existence, but some dickhead in on the board of directors wants more.
Which, oh god, and that's. Do you want to go into that story? Actually,
I mean, I think we'll keep with the Xbox stuff for now, because it's all self-contained and bounces off each other. But to bring it back to the games, in particular, Perfect Dark, Richie, where were you at hype level wise? Because again, I'd never seen it, I never played it before, but that trailer really got me. Knowing it was coming to Game Pass as well, I was going to check it out. I was looking forward to it.
So, as a big N64 fan, there's literally one behind me. I don't know if it's on camera or not, but
it's behind you, though. We believe you.
Yeah. I've never actually played the Perfect Dark, but it was kind of the spiritual successor to GoldenEye on the N64. So I was like, I'm very much interested to play a kind of stealth action shooter that has its roots in like something like a GoldenEye. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to play it now, so. But yeah, I know my hype level is probably not as high as some people know Discords, but that's because I've kind of been quietly waiting to hear and see more and get closer. Because we have seen one trailer. I was probably waiting to see, like, okay, getting closer at the time. Let's really see what this game's going to be.
Yeah. It's it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame, and of course the Initiative studio never really had a chance. And I think it's highlighted, isn't it, by the success you see in other areas. And I think recently, I know we talk about Expedition 33 a lot, but a team of 30 odd people formed a studio, got talent in from all over the place, did what they needed to do. They found people like their music producer. I think they found him on Reddit. Like, just put out a job posting, like, we need someone who's good at this, and they pulled devs in. Yeah. They use experience. They limited their scope and their budget, and they've got a Game of the Year winning title on their hands. And yet, a studio that gets millions and millions and millions to essentially do the same thing, make a game from scratch, having never made one before, using the best tools at your disposal, can't even get it out the door, and they get shuttered. And it's like, how
like,
does one work and the other one doesn't?
I feel like sometimes Expedition 33 has been a huge success, but the risk involved was relatively low because it was a smaller studio. They just started. If it fails, don't make any money. Right? The expectations were lower. I'm going to bring in Ubisoft because I think this kind of sums them up, where the studios have become bigger and bigger and bigger and bloated. Ubisoft as a corporation have wanted to get the games out quickly, and bigger and bigger and bigger. So the team has scaled up. And I think in the creative industry, the more cooks you have in the kitchen, the more less creative it becomes. That creativity almost becomes sterilised by having more people. You're not giving the people the opportunity to come up with creative ideas. So this is why I feel like Ubisoft games sometimes feel like they come off a production line because there's probably so many people working there. So the studios become overly bloated, but then because the company's paying so many wages, they become more and more risk averse, which further hems creativity. And then you get them producing games that are absolutely good, but not absolutely. They're good games.
Yeah.
But they're never great. They're never exceptional. There's no risk involved. Expedition 33 is a risk that paid off. Microsoft feels like Phil Spencer's been quite happy for studios to take risk, follow passion projects. And the result might be what we're seeing here. If they haven't made enough money, Game Pass could be a big part of this. The reasons for this. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. It's complicated. A lot of the growth of these studios may have grown. We saw actually with CD Projekt Red. They scaled up massively for Cyberpunk, and then the quality was lacking on launch. So there's something. This is where I think it comes back to mismanagement of the studios, being sometimes overly ambitious either with the scope of the game or the timeline or a combination of the two. So you bloat the studio, which sanitizes creativity, which means then when the games come out, they're a bit lackluster sometimes. They don't earn as much money. Well,
in terms of Perfect Dark, it might not be the end. For all we know, Microsoft might sell the studio, the property. Like we're aware of this happening. Remember, it happened with Tango Gameworks. They put out Ghostwire Tokyo. They did Hi-Fi Rush to critical acclaim, and then they still got closed. And then, if you remember, Krafton, who the PUBG team, they stepped in, bought Tango Gameworks, announced a sequel, and it's seemingly ticking over in the background for a couple of years, and we'll see the fruits of them labour. So I pull that specifically because the voice actress Alex Regan, who's been doing all the behind the scenes voice work and mocap presumably for Joanna Dark, she put out a couple of tweets saying Joanna is resilient, determined, creative, caring, strong. Agent Dark doesn't give up, and neither should any of you. It's been an honour to work with the talents of the initiative. My heart hurts for everyone affected by today, but like Joanna, we will rise again. And then she goes on to say like a couple of people have been reaching out and floating ideas on a timeline. So yeah, speak up if you want to see it survive. So I'm guessing she's trying to get some traction as a voice actress. The benefit of that role is, I guess, once her voice work's done, she was never attached to the studio permanently. She was just an employee for voice actor work. But you know what? If she can get some traction on that, I'd like to see it. I mean, she can still just go and voice act somewhere else. That's what I'm saying.
True.
Like,
but
her role beyond this is still. She was never going to be at the initiative probably beyond this game.
Yeah, but how much has she been paid? Well, she might have only got a fraction of the contract.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something in that saying if the game doesn't launch, you don't get don't get something.
But she's done the work to potentially produce a full game and got paid pittance. Yeah. So hopefully it does. You know, the initiative, like again, the talent there. If someone steps in and says, you know, we'll have all of these guys, and if you're giving the IP away as well, we'll take that too. To be honest, I kind of hope, and those affected do kind of like go, you know what,
rally together.
Want something here. We've got to add some good ideas. We can't do what we're doing because Microsoft's own that, and they might not release it. Perfect Dark is probably an IP they probably keep hold of, but we could do a spiritual successor to Perfect Dark. Mm-hmm. We can make the game that we want. We're just going to pull together. We'll find investment from outside, and we'll do our own thing.
Absolutely.
Start something new.
You love to see it. So hopefully we'll see something. I know, again, Al Davis music and stuff in our Discord would love to see it, especially. So yes. Moving on to the next element of this, I guess in terms of all this, we also had Rare's Everwild, which was revealed a few years ago. That's also been cancelled, while the Sea of Thieves developers also been hit with layoffs, so they've lost approximately about 10% of their team. So yeah, in terms of job losses, so Rare's a UK studio, so we're not quite clear. It does say employees are likely to lose their jobs as part of a broader restructuring, but like I said, the laws in each country differ slightly. So and I'd like to think the UK laws protect their employees a little bit more. They don't need like what's all going on in America. They're always on about trying to be part of a union, and all the benefits and severance don't quite work as much. Whereas I think in the UK we do have a bit more structure. Yeah,
you can make someone redundant, and there's specific statutory requirements for redundancy. But depending on what your contracts say, statutory stuff in the UK is usually kind of shit. But it does exist.
Yeah, it's better than I feel like in the States they just go, you're sacked.
You're sacked, yeah.
Like you might get severance if you're lucky, but we'll see. A week's wage or some crap like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of Everwild though, Richie, another game in the tank.
Yeah, I'm less surprised by this one because it's
been a while.
Development.
2019.
I'm reading the wiki page at the moment, and the development began in 2014. We talked about this, I think, a few months ago. I think in 2019 it was basically scrapped and started again.
Yeah.
So this is the second attempt. After 5 years, it basically started again, and 6 years later, we haven't got a game out.
Yeah.
So I am less surprised if the game is still not to standard. It's been in the works for 11 years.
Yeah, it was like a 3-person survival crafting game, I think, that maybe missed the boat for that genre, where we've seen a massive boom for survival crafting games with like Valheim and other things come around. But I think Rare, either that focused on Sea of Thieves, it's took that long. And again, art style wise, it looked again very Sea of Thieves with that like cartoonish aesthetic.
Yeah,
but clearly they couldn't make it work, or they didn't have the time and resources behind it to get it out. And ultimately, they probably went, you know what, focus on Sea of Thieves and whatever other project you've got underway. 10% of the staff are probably the guys who are working on Everwild, for the most part.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they'll find jobs within Rare still. Like, you might be laid off, but if Rare turn around and go, well, Sea of Thieves could do with 10 more designers or 10 more writers or whatever, like, there might be a good opportunity to save them there. But, it's a good-looking game. Just a shame it became vaporware to a point where it was up for cancellation. You do wonder at these studios, if you've survived the chopping block this time, it must leave a bad taste in your mouth of thinking like, well, what if we take another 2 years? Like Senua Saga people, Ninja Theory, like they must be bricking it right now because that game didn't do great, didn't sell great, and they take ages.
True. I think something like Everwild, where it was I think after it got rebooted, it was slated to come out in 2023. Then it got pushed back to 2024. We're now into the second half of 2025. The game's now out. Mm-hmm. I feel like you must know your head's on a chopping block with something like that. When you've had several delays in, it depends. If everything's been all hunky-dory, Matt Booty, Phil Spencer's talked to them on the phone a few weeks ago. Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah. You're back on track. You're on hitting your deadlines with a new target. Then this week's call was, okay, the game's scrapped. Sack 10% of your workforce.
Yeah.
It's hard to know how quickly this decision went from, you need to hit this next deadline, otherwise you're gone, to all of a sudden you're gone. It's hard to know without them understanding them inner workings between like the different part of the leadership structures. Yeah,
and to keep this ball rolling, or this wheel turning, I guess, we might as well focus our attention next on 1010. As part of the layoffs, they've apparently lost 50% of this entire staff. So this is a company that haven't put out a title since Forza Motorsport. I think it was 8, but I think they rebranded it as just Forza Motorsport. And I think we know that Playground making Forza Horizon has been the more favourable of the two kind of, because obviously Motorsport's like the more simulation, like Gran Turismo-esque, and Horizon's the more arcadey style branch of that franchise. But Horizon, where it's seen huge success, it's now had ports to PlayStation 5 really successfully. It sells numbers. It's one of the top Game Pass titles all the time. To then flip to Motorsport, who should have been their 10 coming up, to then suddenly lose half of their team. They've essentially, it looks like they became a support studio. Like, you can't knock it. Like, surely
the team is
it'll be somewhere.
So, I mean, I've got numbers for 2014, which is not worth talking about. Okay,
you mean the game or the studio? Like how many?
The studio, because I'm just trying to figure out how big 50% is. Because if you got a 10-person team, 50% isn't that many people.
I mean, it's got to be big enough to put out a AAA first-party studio game. So right. I can't imagine it's small.
Tom Warren at The Verge is reporting that it's 70 people are let go.
Right, it's about 140 strong then. So not the biggest of teams, but.
No.
But these guys have been around since the Xbox was launched. Like, they're talking like a 20-year-old team here. All of a sudden just gets halved.
24 years old, as a team. For context, Forza Motorsport was released in 2023. Forza Horizon 5 was 2021. So if you're doing a 2-year cadence, alternating between Horizon and Motorsport, there should be probably Horizon coming this year, and in 2 years' time a Motorsport. I don't know, maybe it's just a case of the team is a bit too big, or maybe they've changed the plans with Forza and Motorsport, and maybe they're just going to continue supporting.
Like, is Horizon just the big fish now? And ironically, it's surpassed Motorsport. Because, like, let's face it, Gran Turismo's sales have been diminishing returns as well. But
it has actually been confirmed that Motorsports had been It was also reported that development on Forza Motorsport series had been cancelled, and 1010 would continue working on Forza Horizon series alongside Playground. I will just find that's from Dexterro. That's Jessica Philby at Dexterro.
Because Playground Games are also doing the Fable reboot, right? So Playground get to dabble in Forza Horizon and go and make a reboot of Fable, and then seemingly, I guess those two projects require more work, and 1010 are just getting turned into a support studio.
This is one where I feel, when they talk about restructuring stuff, where sometimes it just feels just like corporate speak to kind of justify horrible decisions, where they might actually be telling the truth, rather than having two studios alternate between games, have both studios work on the same game, and when it's done, move on to the next one.
Yeah, it seems.
So it might just be unfortunate that 1010's game is further out.
You know what the hardest part, the most unfair thing about all this is, back to your point you were making about 20 minutes ago, is just you can be successful and hit all your metrics. Forza Motorsport reviewed 84 on Metacritic. Yeah. So you can put out a great game and seemingly it does nothing. Motorsport 7, Metacritic 86. Great game by all means. Motorsport 6, Metacritic reviews 87. It's like, I'll just keep going back. Motorsport 5, Metacritic reviews 79. Like, they have not put out a game that's...
The issue with Metacritic reviews is, well, doesn't necessarily translate to sales.
Oh, well, exactly. That's the problem, though. Motorsport 4 back on the 360, 91, universal acclaim. So even as a studio, like you said, where you hit all your targets, all your internal goals, your graphic fidelity, your timeline, I don't recall Motorsport ever been like really delayed for any major reasons, and yet you've lost half your team. Even though you've done what you've been told, you've done the projects you've been told to work on, you've hit your dates, and just for whatever reason, like you said, goodbye, half of you.
Yeah.
Back to the other one, you'd imagine a lot of these guys can find work at Playground helping with Horizon. That would be
ironic if Playground hides all 70 members of staff.
I mean, it's surely like they're familiar with the Forza engine that they use. Like, they both collaborate on the same internal engine to make these racing games. So if you're looking for talent, there's got to be people at Playground who go, we could do with 5 extra hands on this or 10 extra hands on this to get it out quicker, and you're about to lay off 10, 30, 40, 50 people who literally make our our mirrored game to this franchise. It baffles. It honestly baffles. But
this is where in 5 years' time we're talking about Microsoft turning into a support studio made by a bunch of XM 1010 devs to finish the next Forza Motorsport game.
Yeah. Or
so you end up paying more money because by outsourcing.
Like you said, imagine if these hundreds of people could get together and somehow form like a super studio out of all this talent, like from the ashes of it all. Yeah. Like we just get, I don't know, a big guy at Rockstar who's like a multimillionaire just goes, you know what? Now's the time. Launch GTA 6, pull all these people in, do something. Like there must be people with money out there who could hire a big chunk of these. Imagine if PlayStation, if you're at PlayStation right now or Nintendo, do some headhunting. There's talent literally to pick up for your own teams right now, right? Like the vultures hanging around a rotting carcass, they could just swoop in and go, we need a game designer, we need a writer, we need an Unreal Engine specialist, bring you in. You already live in San Francisco probably, or Santa Monica.
You know what? It's almost a shame that Codemasters laid off some people back in May.
Yeah.
Just that could have been a perfect fit.
Well, we covered, what was it, Colin McRae Rally or something?
Yeah,
moved
that
over
was part
to
of the layoffs, yeah.
Yeah. But, you mentioned it earlier on, the Doom co-creator as well. He had funding pulled from his game. Now, we didn't know anything about this one. But yeah, this is the guy who made Doom. He's been working on a project himself, kind of like a spun-up new studio. He said it was going to be AAA, first person, using Unreal Engine as its core technology. He put out a tweet at Romero Games over on or Blue Sky, whatever you would call that, saying that, funding has essentially been pulled. The publishers cancelled their funding, along with other projects at the studio. It was a decision made at high level with the publisher, well above our visibility or control, and they wished there was something they could have done to prevent it. So hopefully something like that is far along enough that they can go ship it to other publishers and try and get backing. You would imagine they'll have fail-safe plans of that. It's like you don't have 2, 3, 4 years of work and then just go, we've got nothing now. I'd imagine they'll be fighting not to just bin it all and try and find funding from somewhere else.
I'd say this is a good example of leadership. They just stand up there and going, look, we're having problems now because funding was pulled. Was completely out of control. We had no idea it was going to happen. It's not our guys' fault this happened. Yeah. That you, as a leader, you stand in front of your team going, you know what? This wasn't us. This was someone. This was you guys over there.
What was that Dragon game that had the plug pulled on it as well? It wasn't Dragon Age, Dragon Fire, Dragon Stone. It was an Xbox game. Dragon Heart. I can't remember what it was. That was a similar one where it was a project that was like well fancied and then just absolutely went. But yeah, I think I guess there's the MMO RPG at ZeniMax. This was from the team who did Elder Scrolls Online. We don't know anything about this. Any care hazard any guess as to what this may have been, Richie? You need thinking of their expertise.
Well, ZeniMax. What does ZeniMax have? So Elder Scrolls, obviously, is a big one there. Fallout, but they've already got Fallout 76. That's still going fine. It could be Starfield, something like that.
Well, they said it was a new IP, so it'll have been something new. But I'm thinking of their heritage and what they're kind of they're known for.
I only know them from Elder Scrolls Online, so I really don't know what it could be if it's a new IP.
It was probably just to try and get something that wasn't attached to the Elder Scrolls brand, I think. Yeah, to be fair with Elder Scrolls Online, it was a bit naff on launch. It didn't do well initially, but it really did find its audience, and it is still going strong to this day. So it feels like that this game would have been in good hands. They probably had learned the lessons from Elder Scrolls Online and now know what to do. It goes back to your point, though, doesn't it? And Phil Spencer's statement and Matt Booty's statement of we're going to double down and focus on opportunity and re-cementing.
It's kind of
saying
franchises. we know what works.
Yeah,
it's been safe.
Is that not pop culture in general? Like Marvel is struggling with it now, and seemingly Disney is struggling with it, where it's just like people want nostalgia, but they ask for something new, but then they don't go and support it. I think Pixar just had a new movie out, Elio, I believe it's called, tanked at the box office. It's like, because it's not a Toy Story 5, it's not a sequel to Inside Out or The Incredibles. It's almost like...
But did they have the same marketing push as, say, Toy Story?
I don't really...
I've never heard of it.
It probably won't. But then this comes back to leadership decisions. If you're not going to market something, you're surprised when no one knows what it's about. Like, you need it to go viral and really like capture the zeitgeist of the moment. But
I think one of the biggest problems with gaming is understanding how to sell your game in a way that makes it not look generic as hell. Just a lot of games do come. We've watched loads of trailers, both live and covered them on shows, and sometimes I'm watching a trailer and going, "This looks like 18 other games I've seen in the last hour."
Yeah, we have it at showcases all the time, don't we? Where we're like,
yeah, you do.
It looks the same.
It's part of marketing is you need to design a game that is unique and interesting, and marketing comes down to how do you show that the elements that make that game unique off.
Yeah,
it's not easy. But
it's not.
This is where I think Claire Obscure Expedition 33 worked, because they really nailed that. They showed off what made the game unique and interesting. And actually, oddly enough, they showed off not the things that makes it unique.
Yeah.
They showed off things like the Persona style UI, the kind of French setting of the game, the turn-based RPG mechanics, and like a deep, rich story. And they kind of go, yeah, do you want a deep, rich story set in France with turn-based gameplay? But we've got also a little bit of Soulspawn stuff in there with your parries and your dodges, so it's not just clicking menu. So there's some actual real-time action involved. And then people got their hands on like, this is actually really good.
Yeah. It's such a... And again, it's the industry it's in. It is so like risk-reward. Like you just never know.
The more money you got sunk, the less risk-averse you become.
Yeah, you really...
The more risk-averse you become. And then sometimes the risks that being that strategy doesn't pay off.
Yeah. So again, hearts go out to all of the people affected and their families, and hopefully you will find your feet somewhere. But for now, we look at cancelled projects, and they did say there's 40 projects in the works, and it's such a step on a rake moment because I feel like Xbox have had such a good year as well. We've got new hardware coming in the terms of the ROG Ally. We've got Game Pass firing on all cylinders. We've got games that are going to be in Game of the Year conversations with the likes of like South of Midnight and stuff, and other big ones coming out. Indiana Jones I know did really well, and yeah, just step on a rake. But thankfully, Richie, moving on to our next story, is they can put that rake to a side slightly because the day after we got some great news, and that is the news that Helldivers 2 is officially releasing on Xbox this August 26th. It was announced as part of like a blog post. It's coming to Series X and S with cross progression as well. Not cross progression, sorry, cross play. They haven't said specifics about cross progression yet. The game is up for pre order right now at £34.99 or $39.99. And yeah, you can join the fight to become a Helldiver alongside your PS5 and PC brethren. And I guess we need to tackle this from many angles. The first one being, holy shit, PlayStation are publishing a game on Xbox without being forced to. The only title to have done this prior to that was MLB The Show, but that decision was very much made by the MLB League and said that we will take the franchise off you if you don't publish this on multiple platforms. And Sony,
if you want to renew your license, you need to put this game everywhere.
Yeah, you can have a sport title that's exclusive, and Sony went, okay. And then Sony San Diego, I think, do MLB The Show. They just went, yeah, crack on, and they put it out on Switch, and they put it out on Xbox, and everyone's like, oh, it's so weird. And it even has the PlayStation Studios, but the fact Helldivers, which is a Sony-owned IP, it not made by a Sony studio, it not only did it come to PC day and date, we just talk about like that risk-reward, this had huge success. It's one of the biggest games of the last couple of years, and to see them publish it on Xbox, it did make me... I think someone put it out on Discord yesterday, and it made me kind of like do a double take and go, no, what? No. And I was like, oh shit, it's real. Like I've just watched the actual trailer. It's real. Great news. And we're going to stream
Arrowhead
Richie.
aren't... Yeah. I'm not.
Yes, you are. You are. I'm going to subsidise it with company money if I need to, because we need to play this together with our community. You're not getting away from it. I've sanctioned it right now. If people can super chat or join as a membership and say Richie needs to play Helldivers, help me fund this £34.99. There was a rumour that it was coming to Game Pass, which would have been the ideal win, but the studio directors definitely shut that down and say, no, never coming to Game Pass, not part of the agreement. Confirmed already.
I wonder, because Arrowhead isn't owned by Sony.
No.
So that's probably one of the things that made this happen, but it almost feels like, oh, Microsoft, you're having a bad week. Would you like one of our games?
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, the amount of Xbox titles that have been published on PlayStation this last year alone, we've got Hellblade 2 coming, we've got, ironically enough, Gears of War Reloaded launches the same day as this.
Yeah.
So you got that bit of irony in there as well. We've had Indiana Jones come over. What else have we had this year alone? You got Platinum in it recently. Can't think of it. Oblivion Remaster came over. It's just Xbox are very much everything. Yeah. Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, like everything is trickling over. There's only Halo. There's literally only Halo we're waiting on. Forza, the previously mentioned one. But for this now to go the other way, we've seen PlayStation do it with Horizon Lego Adventures went to the Switch, but it didn't come to Xbox. So that's why we're like, okay, Sony are willing to play with family-friendly Switch, but they're not willing to go to the, I guess, arguably biggest rival in that space. Now they are. And does this mean a change in tack for Sony? I still think we're a long, long ways off seeing things like God of War and Spider-Man on Xbox, because you'd imagine diminishing returns on smaller player base. But for Helldivers, which will thrive off more players, I think this is a great shout. While the game's still got legs, and it's still only, a year and a half old, I think now is the time to bring in however many million Xbox players they are. Now is the time. And I think it had such a viral zeitgeist going. I think bringing in a whole new platform is going to boost this. If they line this up with like another big content drop as well, then it could be huge. But yeah, looking forward to it.
I think this could be Sony testing the waters out. Helldivers is a good one for them to experiment with, because they are struggling quite a bit with the live service games. Mm-hmm. Marathon's just been delayed. Concorde just never took flight.
Yeah.
Let's experiment with a game that we know is working well. Stick on Xbox, because at this point you're probably not seeing too much in terms of regular sales. It's probably just ticking over from in-game purchases at this point. Let's put it on Microsoft, see how it does. Take that data, analyse it, and see, okay, maybe live service games would be a bit more friendly towards Microsoft. Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think it's a good test bed because Helldivers is a known quantity as well.
Yeah.
You've got to think of the investment time to go to Arrowhead and go, look, port it over, we'll see how it does. As opposed to going to another studio who maybe haven't put the game out, going, well, we don't know how well this game's going to do yet.
Yeah.
So we can't really go multiplayer. But this might set the precedence for like every PlayStation multiplayer title going forward. Might come with an Xbox release a year down the line or so, if this does well. And I think it will do well. I don't think there's any reason why, if you're an Xbox player, you wouldn't look at this and go, oh shit, Helldivers was huge. And you either had to go and buy it on PC or get yourself a PS5. I think there's a good bit of groundswell there.
So. You know what would be actually a kind of awesome move from Sony? If the day it came to launched on Xbox, so August the 26th, they also put it live for PlayStation Plus members.
Yeah.
We're going, your PlayStation Plus games for September 2025 are Helldivers 2.
I mean, they did have in the trailer... At the end, it says available now on PS5 and PC. So it's like, if you want to play it, you don't have to wait till August. August isn't that far away. It's next month, which means this has probably been in development for a good half a year, would you say? Minimum? Probably, to port it?
It depends. I think it depends on what engine they're using, how complicated the porting is, when it's ported over, what the bugs that have occurred from nothing are.
Well, you kill the
how
bugs.
Much optimization. Yeah, you do. But sometimes that takes time, Chris.
It does. It takes time and democracy to do it.
Yeah.
It's I'd be interested to see what the negotiations were like. Like, was this Xbox and PlayStation were like, well, if you can give us Gears of War, we'll give you your free pick of one of these. And they went, we want Helldivers. Like, I'd be really curious to be a bug on the wall, and just to see what that was.
You'd have Helldivers, Concord, and Marathon.
Yeah, shit. The key win though, the easiest win imaginable, is drop it on Xbox. Master Chief skin. Come on. Like, I've seen a TikTok video going around just today. I'm sure it was made a year ago when Helldivers was huge, because the outfits they wear look so close to Master Chief. And Doom Guy could be another easy win.
You can have fun with it.
And it shows you like Helldivers getting killed left, right, and center, and it's like, what do we need to do? And then you see the kind of squadron comes on in the earpiece, and it goes, and it's like a quote from Halo, like a famous quote from Halo, and Master Chief drops in on a hell pod, and he comes out, and he's like, holy shit, and he helps him up off the ground. There's all explosions, the people are dying around him, and it plays the Halo music, and it's like, I'm just getting chills even just thinking about that, and I'm not a huge Halo fan. Of like, that would be so cool. And I remember we said it, and I said it when it launched initially, is like, Helldivers, they got the Hellgast as a skin in there, which like just make a planet. Like, let me go shoot and kill Hellgast people is a spin-off. And I think I also theorized Star Wars. Literally Helldivers, give them clone troopers or stormtrooper outfits, drop them into a planet called Geonosia or something, and go kill the aliens. It's part of the Republic fighting off the separatists. Droids, just let me go kill it en masse with my buddies with a Star Wars skin. And I can't imagine like these deals aren't happening where Disney are like, just give me the same game again, but with a Star Wars skin, and it would work. Give me the same game again, but with a Halo skin. We had Halo Wars, that was like an RTS kind of similar, but it's just such a good platform. And yeah, I can't wait for August 26th to see all the new Helldivers come to fight for democracy, Richie.
You know what I think might work better than, say, Halo? Gears of War. A Gears of War crossover.
Yeah.
You've got the Locust in there.
Yeah.
And if we're playing through Gears, they drop in pods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you literally do. You're right, yeah. It just works so much. As long as you just have killing people, a team, and a multitude of enemies, it works. Because the gameplay loop is so... 3.
In Helldivers?
3. But
that suits Gears as well.
It does. But I have heard them saying they're looking at, like, they've referenced it a few times in not the trailer, the Arrowhead Studio Head put out like a video saying like, you've been asking for backup, you've been asking for reinforcements. I do think one of the next steps for this game is to increase the team size, so you can go in with a squad of 5, a squad of 6, or upwards. Add
in some new maps and new skirmishes that can have bigger parties.
I mean, the maps probably could cope with it just by default, because you just increase the amount of enemies to kind of balance it out a little bit. But
maybe stick some raids in, so a couple of teams drop into one map to fight like a raid boss.
But the gameplay loop's so fun, it just works anywhere. So yeah, Helldivers coming to Xbox August 26th was not on my bingo card for this year. One of the things that was on my bingo card though is Donkey Kong Bananza is almost here. It comes out in a couple of 2 weeks time, I think, just short of 2 weeks time. And there've been some early previews this past week. Influencers and news outlets have got hands on it. And just wanted to read a few messages from this just to give you an idea. Starting with IGN, they say it might be the Switch 2's real killer app. And I quote, "It turns out that swapping out a mustachioed plumber for a tumbling hairy gorilla is appropriately transformative. Even in just 2 hours of gameplay, I was absolutely enamored with Donkey Kong's personality, his sheer sense of strength and power, just juxtaposed with his surprisingly speedy movement and the satisfying destructibility of everything around him. As far as first impressions go, this is everything a 3D Donkey Kong game should be." CNET said it's their killer ape, not killer app, killer ape. Nice. The Switch 2 was already excellent, but it feels more vibrant now. With a few more big exclusive games like this, the Switch 2 is going to become a must get for a lot of people. Actually, that moment might already be here with Donkey Kong Bananza. I guess we'll pull one more from VGC. And obviously, we've got Eurogamer, actually. Eurogamer says, there's much to do here with a good amount of variety. The best thing I can say, in fact, is that the 3 hours I had with the game absolutely flew by, even if I spent much of it doing a lot of the same wrecking ball actions repeatedly. Time's flying is always a surefire sign that something is good. So this formula might just be a winner. So Donkey Kong's the one for me where I actually think I'm going to enjoy it more than Mario Kart.
Yeah, Mario Kart's perpetually installed in the system kind of game.
Yeah, it never leaves. It just sits there in the background. Yeah. But it's it's
Donkey Kong is you're going to play this to completion sort of game.
Yeah, go around and collect. I think they've basically swapped out. Is it stars in Mario Odyssey you collect for bananas?
Moons? I think it's moons.
Oh, it might be moons. I'm not too sure. I was actually tempted to get Odyssey this week. I saw it on sale somewhere. But the problem with Nintendo sales is they're not quite sales. I think it was still like 54 quid instead of being like 69 or whatever it traditionally was. Give me like a Ubisoft sale. Drop it down to like 10, 15 quid and I'll buy it immediately. Oh, that'll work. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll just lend you it.
Do I need a virtual card? How does that work if you give me the physical card?
I think I've got the physical card. You could just stick it in your Switch and it should work.
Yeah, sweet. That's. I still need to find my old Switch. All my cartridges are
the virtual cards are for digital versions.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, I will do just that. And yeah, a bunch of other things. But in terms of it, it just looks fun. Like, again, I don't have any real attachment to any Nintendo property outside of Pokemon, so. But I'm open to. Like you've seen as we've grew this channel together, how much stuff I've never played before and I've absolutely fell in love with. JRPGs, never thought of. Final Fantasy
and Resident Evil.
I mean, look at me playing Expedition 33, a game that I probably would have never looked twice at a couple of years ago. And yeah, thanks to our adventures together in the gaming world, getting a little bit of everything. But yeah, it just looks colourful. It looks bright. Honestly, it's also one that I think as my daughter gets a little bit older, she'd probably like to run around as a giant ape and just mash buttons, and there's no real risk of dying or like imminent threat. It's just colourful animals running around and having fun, right?
I mean, we'll see. It's a puzzle platformer. Mario's always had stuff in there,
and he is an ape.
It should be fun. Yeah,
he's an ape. He's not a monkey. But
I mean, most of the early reviews, and I think the major publishers have only got a couple of hours hands on.
Yeah,
but almost unanimously like really excited.
Yeah, I think what vibes I'm getting actually is Astrobot. Like it's just got, because he's so quick and he can jump quite high. It's got that kind of just 3D momentum to it. Whereas I think they said in one of the reviews, didn't they? Like he's just quick. I think that's it. It's like as long as he feels fast and frenetic,
it feels good to play.
Yeah, and you can punch through things, and it's got a quirkiness to it as well. It's bright and vibrant. So I'm sure it's going to look amazing on the Switch 2 screen. Looking good, Donkey Kong. Next story up on our list is going to be Neil Druckmann stepping away from his Last of Us TV adaptation. He's moving to completely focus back on Naughty Dog, as is his Part 2 co-writer Haley Gross, which we referenced the two of them many times on the Clickercast podcast. You should go check it out. It's an amazing show. And me and Richie round up the news from The Last of Us. But more importantly, he put out a tweet basically saying that he's refocusing his attention back to the world of Naughty Dog, and I'll read directly from said quote if my Instagram page will load up properly. Where's it at? I've lost it. I've lost the quote. Either way, he's going back. In his own statement, I could have asked for a more generous credit now. I've missed it. I've lost it completely. Co-creating the show has been a highlight of my career. It's been an honour to work alongside Craig Mazin to executive produce, direct and write on the last two seasons. Deeply thankful and thoughtful approach and dedication to the talented cast and crew who took to adapting the first Last of Us game as well as the ongoing adaptation of Part 2 for TV. In the statement, he goes on to basically say he's going to step back and go back to meaningful work. Now, I follow a couple of Last of Us pages, and they've been back and forth over the series. But in terms of this, I've seen some people go like really volatile with it and go, oh, he's clearly jumping ship before season 3. They can't mess it up anymore on this. And I think I replied to one of them and just said, or it could be the reality that Naughty Dog haven't put out a game since 2020, like a new title. His ultimate job is the head of the studio, Naughty Dog, to make games. And maybe in terms of his time and resources, he needs to get back to working on Intergalactic and other IP because it's taken a while.
He might have made the decision to work on the TV show because the main focus for Naughty Dog was factions.
Yeah.
So with it being less narrative driven, he would be less hands-on on that particular project, while Intergalactic was just bubbling away in the background.
Yeah.
But now that's ramping up in its production.
Yeah.
It's probably might have even ramped up into production earlier because of the cancellation of factions. Suddenly he hasn't managed to get all 3 seasons done, and before he gets too deep into season 3 and starts feeling like completely overwhelmed by managing 2 huge projects.
Yeah, and it's that part as well. It's like when we've covered it, the show, and we've went in depth of like the official podcast and the interviews and such. I've seen people say like, "Oh, he's clear doesn't get along with Craig," and I'm like, no. If you listen to them interviews, they're like best mates. Like they understand the material. They're very respectful of each other's work. They've worked cohesively for 2 years now on 2 huge productions.
They're still going to work together, them too.
Yeah, I think they will as well. I think they'll be back in some capacity. I think Craig will help with a game at some point because he's clearly a gamer himself. But I just think people just looking for issues, and it's just like there isn't always. It could just be HBO as well saying for season 3 we don't have a budget to pay 3 years to do the one job one of us could do. So one of us has to go, and Neil's like, well, actually, I already have a job at Naughty Dog. I should probably
I need to get back to my day job. This has been fun, guys.
Yeah. And it's that reality to produce this. Remember, for season 2, they went up to was it Canada to shoot a lot of the scenes. So that's like Neil traveling to another country, not being at the Naughty Dog studios. I'd imagine his time and his focus has been definitively split between writing scripts and working on a game. As similar as they are, they're still very different entities. And it just must be draining. He also has a family and stuff as well. So it's like maybe get home, see your family and your colleagues. And let's get back to Intergalactic, or let's get another frickin' Uncharted out, or Last of Us Part 3, whatever this may look like. I think people are just getting too wrapped up on it. And quite frankly, I think between you and me, Season 3 is almost self-written by the nature of how they structured Season 2. They know probably... I think Craig actually said when Season 3 got greenlit, he said, we've wrote this as a complete story to go through, and maybe it just doesn't need as many eyes on it because it's already ticking over.
A big part of his job's done. He's got now a long-standing workmanship with Craig Mazin. Mm-hmm. Maybe he feels it's in good hands. He doesn't need to be over the top of it as much. Yeah.
Or if you want to believe it, maybe he just had a massive crush on Pedro Pascal, and now he's gone. He doesn't need to hang around.
I mean, who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Exactly. But final quick stories of the week. We mentioned at the top of the show, EA have reportedly expected Battlefield 6, the new one, reportedly expected.
I feel sorry for the team because this is like literally 3 times anything Battlefield's ever achieved.
Yeah, they expect 100 million players, which is more than the series has ever accomplished. This comes from Ars Technica, which explored the game's many ambitions. And obviously Battlefield has never achieved those numbers before. But 2042, the last entry, only got 22 million. So I don't know where they're finding these extra 78 from, Richie, to pull it back. Even Call of Duty Warzone, I think, initially took a good year to get it. I mean, Warzone, Fortnite, for example, has passed the 200 million mark. So the players are out there, but remember Battlefield's Battle Royale Firestorm? That did, like, nothing. And I just think Battlefield's like a downward spiral, but for some reason EA, again, goes back to the Xbox story, is just dipshit members of the board who go, oh, we made money, we want more money. Battlefield's a big franchise. Crunch your numbers together, guys, and we expect triple the output. And they go, what?
I'm just looking at a Screen Rant article from 2014 that lists like the top 15 Call of Duty sales figures, and so number 5 was Vanguard with 30 million copies. 4, Black Ops Cold War, 30 million copies. Modern Warfare 2019, 30 million copies. Modern Warfare 3, 30 million copies. Black Ops, 31 million copies. That's in 2010. So in 2014, the highest selling Call of Duty only hit 31 million copies. EA is now expecting Battlefield to reach 100 million.
And then they'll do layoffs and studio closures. You know what?
I don't really have much to say here. It's just stupid numbers.
The only way this will be successful, and I think it could actually achieve it if it does this, is go free to play. I don't think you get 100 million free to play. Eventually. if they support it, because like remember when 2042 came out and they ditched the campaign and all my interest in it disappeared immediately.
Yeah.
And then we played it, and it is a fun game, but they were asking for £60, was it? I think at launch, and I think our big counter argument was like, well, Warzone's free. So why would I pay for this experience when I can get pretty much the same thing in a better quantity from Call of Duty? And I think that's where Battlefield's always struggled. But I think if they go, right, we want to hit 100 million, make it free and support it and keep bringing events and keep bringing stuff. Like, you might get the players, but you might not get the revenue. And that's the risk, isn't it, that you do? Is you go free to play, there's no coming back from free to play. It's like it's out there in the wild, and you have to rely on DLC, seasonal stuff, skins.
What makes it worse? What makes it worse is Battlefield 5's Battle Royale mode, Firestorm, failed to meet expectations. Mm-hmm. Yet EA expect another attempt at a Battle Royale style for Battlefield will make the 100 million. So you've already tried and failed. So now you're setting a complete... I mean, fantastic if they do achieve it. Yeah. I just feel like this is a number that some corporate dickheads pulled out of thin air without doing any real market research. Because it took me 30 seconds to find a screen and an article detailing Call of Duty sales. I mean, that may not be the most accurate information out there.
Yeah.
But for ballpark, it's good enough. Like, realistically, I think anything over 30 million is ambitious. Even 30 million is probably ambitious.
Yeah.
You're setting your team. I feel like you're setting your team up to fail, and I feel sorry for the team.
We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by it, but at the same time, I think that it's laughable numbers, and I think we'll probably be sat here in 2-3 years' time going, DICE have laid people off here, and Criterion have laid people off here because EA expected triple.
Have EA been taken over by Square Enix in terms of setting expectations?
I mean, they're always disappointing. We're disappointed with the performance of insert game here. What are you going to do? And then our final story of the week, just a nice little fun one here. Tony Hawk of Skater fame is celebrating his 30th year partnership with Tony the Tiger. That's right, the world-renowned skateboarding hero Tony Hawk was in a 1990s advert for Frosted Flakes, or Frosties I think they are over in the UK. And I quote Tony Hawk, "I've been a fan of Tony the Tiger since I was a kid. It was an incredible journey from originally doing stunts as Tony's stuntman in an advertising campaign where I think he did essentially what would have been mocap for being the tiger in the advert, to reuniting over 30 years later for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. That's right, Richie. And to back that up, not only does it come out imminently, it's on Game Pass as well, there's going to be a Tony the Tiger skin and skateboard available in-game.
Is it a skin or full playable character?
I don't quite know from this article. But
it's got to be full playable character. Their random friendship is still going all these years later. So, yeah. When was the last time you had any Frosties? Like, do people still get Frosties? Like, let us know in the comments that you were a Frosties cereal kind of guy. I think that occasionally has Frosties.
See, I've totally switched. I'm like a Kellogg's Crunchy Nuts kind of guy.
I don't really eat that much cereal.
I don't either, to be fair.
My problem is one bowl is not enough. 2 bowls is way too much.
Yeah, not enough to sustain
Yeah, and then by the time you've made yourself 1.5 bowls, there's nothing left in the box.
Yeah, I mean, I get the Crunchy Nut clusters, and they are very much, I think it's like 2 bowls, and I'm done. Yeah. And it's like, well, great.
I'm a fan of porridge. I like a bit of porridge.
I am, but I can't be bothered to make it. Especially if you get like a little bit of...
I just get the sachets. That you just like add some milk, chuck in the microwave.
Yeah, it still seems like a lot of work. I just usually pour milk on it and it's done. It's not quick. You can't get anything quicker than that. That's why toast is the right faff one as well.
Yeah, toast. Just eat the bread dry from the bag.
Straight in there.
No, actually, not bread's too complicated. It's got a bag.
It does, yeah. You can't get that damn sticker off at half the time. But yeah, what are your hype levels at for Tony Hawk's 3 and 4? It's coming up, and it's your type of game. You love the 1 and 2 remake.
I love the 1 and 2 remake. I'm a bit down on it because they're changing the format of how 4 plays out. I mean, it's on Game Pass, so I'll still play it. So. Yeah.
Give it a go.
But again, as I mentioned earlier, with Mario Kart being an always installed game, that'll be Tony Hawk's.
Tony Hawk.
I'll play it quite casually here and there.
And maybe for the soundtrack as well, because the soundtrack's always great.
Oh yeah, soundtrack's awesome.
And you know what else is always great, Richie? This show, and we like to round out every single week by looking back at this day in video game history. We're recording this on July the 4th, so happy Independence Day to all you dirty Americans out there who just didn't want to hang out with us anymore. So celebrate your independence.
Your loss.
Just ask yourself this: in the 250 years since, is your country any better off now, or worse than it was back then? That's a terrible thing to don't hate me. I'm only playing. We love our American friends.
You know
across
what?
The pond.
We need America to start to celebrate Redependence Day.
Redependence Day. If you ask nicely, we will come and save you from your current government and leadership. We'll just come over
and then fuck it up worse.
We'll even bring our red coats. We all, as Brits, we all have a red coat in the locker ready to go because we're dirty lobster backs.
Yeah, you get given one when you leave school at 16.
Yeah. It's like graduation, which you're all familiar with. But yeah, happy July the 4th. Celebrate your independence, set off your fireworks, and have fun. And get drunk. Be merry.
You know what?
And celebrate.
Independence Day in New York is fantastic.
I'd imagine it is. I do have a big question. Now we're looking at this day in video games. Why is no independence-based game came out on July the 4th? It seems like such an easy win for sales.
It's not... It looks quite a quiet day, actually. I wonder if it's because it's Independence Day, a lot of companies just avoid it.
Well, don't they have the whole weekend? It's kind of Independence Day, and then it goes into.
Yeah, but isn't there a lot of stuff happens like Americans like
sports
stuff going on, family stuff. So maybe
parades.
It's just not traditionally a great day to release a game because of all the other stuff that isn't game related.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
The only one I've got, and I'm not sure if it counts, is Raid Shadow Legends, but I don't feel it counts because it's not really a game; it's a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
I've never known anyone play it.
July the 5th, there's nothing either really.
Soul Calibur 2 in the arcade.
Yeah. July 6th, Pokemon Go. 9 years ago on July 6th. I mean, there you go.
That's a biggie.
One of the biggest.
Changed the world.
Revolutionised. It did. It changed the world. It made people go outside, touch grass, quite literally, and invade churches, cafes, public areas more than ever before. But yes, it got people walking, making friends, and catching Pokemon. But that's all we've got time for this week on episode 99 of the GamerGuild Podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of our great content, like our weekly live streams where we'll be back this week playing something with you, our wonderful community. Shout out to our wonderful guild heroes, the members of the channel who support that extra little bit further, whether you are celebrating independence or not. You could celebrate by clicking join below from as little as 99p, stickers and badges next to your name in the chat, and exclusive early access. But more importantly, you support a small 4-person friendly team of people who like talking about games we've done so far. 470 episodes in total. 99 for this particular iteration of the show. But we'll be back next week celebrating 100, the big 100. We'd love you to join us. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
And remember, folks, play wherever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.
Bye.